Brother Ben here. Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister. And Ben tells them about the minister.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to your power call. This Friday, we're going to be closing with a good one. We actually may roll over into Monday, but what we're going to be listening to today is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speak about why the nation fell. Very important because we know, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been warning us and preparing us, he has to eventually depart, and we have to be ready for that time. And what we want to understand is the principles of what happened then, so that we don't make some of the same maybe mistakes in modern time that we should have learned from the past. So I really want us to take notes on this one. Well, any of them, but take notes and be ready to share at the end. Just a reminder, we do close at 8 a.m. Well, before 8, because those of us who have to get to another Zoom call. So again, we may have to finish this one on Monday, but take as many notes as you can. Let's dialogue about it. Let's discuss it. And let's see what we can learn from the past for the test that's coming to us in the present. Here we go. Let's listen.
To Minister Linward, brothers and sisters of the FOI and MGT of Temple Number 7, New York City, Muslim brothers and sisters who are here tonight that I haven't seen in many years, but as I look into your faces, I see those that love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and worked faithfully and diligently and sacrificed much to build the nation of Islam under his leadership. And I'm very happy and honored and humbled by your presence this evening. And to those who are standing on the outside of this building, not being able to come in, I'm grateful to Allah for the privilege, the opportunity, and the honor of being able to speak to you from the inside. And I hope that your feet won't get too tired standing on the outside. I don't intend to hold you too long. But we are happy and honored to be here in Brooklyn. I guess we could say Brooklyn is now the capital of Black America. And we are grateful that those who rented this humble place rented it to the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who are busy now remodeling this place to make it fit to receive you, that we may once again lift up the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his teachings among us. There's so much that I want to say to you, but I want to start first by saying this. Islam is not a personality cult, nor is it a group of people who are followers of Farrakhan. I'm speaking to those here in this house, we are followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We bear witness to the greatness of his leadership. And we acknowledge that it is only his leadership that proved over 40 years that he had the best program, the most viable program for the elevation of black people, for the productiveness of black people, and to guide black people in America and throughout the world in the proper way of doing for self, and ultimately to carve out a nation of self for black people. New York is my home. New York is where I was born, though it is not where I grew up. But New York is where I worked for 10 years on behalf of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad after I was sent here by the messenger after the assassination of Malcolm X. It is a joy to me to come home. And it is a joy to me to be in Brooklyn. And I want you to know, if it be the will of Allah, that I shall be back every Wednesday for the next 6 weeks. There are many things we want to take up with you. And I think the audience that is here tonight, so many of you whom I soldiered with, you must try to understand, beloved brothers and sisters, what has happened to our nation and why. You know, you may know what happened, but if you don't know why, you're not comforted. So many people, when something of a calamitous nature strikes, and it happens all of a sudden, people ask the question, why? Why did this happen? Why to me? I've been doing good, or I've been good. Why should this calamity afflict me? Sometime we may lose someone very dear to us, a young child perhaps. And when a mother has to bury her son or her daughter at a very young age, the mother and the father oftentimes ask the question, why? The child was so young. Why, God, did you take my child from me? So many people not understanding the ways of God, not understanding how He works, because we don't have a comprehensive knowledge of things. We have a very limited knowledge of things. And so in our limited knowledge, as we reach out for the whys, the answers to these perplexing problems and calamities, some of us get so offended by the loss that we become blinded by the loss, and then we turn our backs on God as though God did us something wrong. We couldn't take the strain, we couldn't take the pain of seeing something and someone dear to us leave us. We couldn't take the pain, we didn't want the strain of knowing that that person or that thing was no longer there. And then we became offended at God. Why did you bring us all this way to leave us? Why, Elijah Muhammad, did you preach among us for 44 long years? And after we had built up confidence in you, we learned that you were dead. And now everything that you taught, that you built, has been torn down. Why? I gave my money. I went to prison. I lost my loved ones. For God's sake, somebody tell me why. I gave my heart and my mind to a man like I never gave to no other man who ever lived. And now my hopes are dashed. Somebody give me some understanding. Somebody tell me why. And if the why doesn't come quick enough, the hurt turns to bitterness. And then out of the bitterness of the loss and the pain and the anguish, we begin to curse that which we once loved. The love that we had for a man and his truth begins to wax cold. And then, without hope, some of us fall backward into the mud, into the filth, into the old life, into the old habits. Some of us are not here tonight. Some are dead and gone. Some are in insane asylums because they couldn't answer the question why. Some have lost their wives, their children, their families, torn asunder. They couldn't answer the question why. And I say with deep humility, I had been taught at the foot of the messenger, and I thought I really knew his teachings. But at that moment in time, I was helpless because I couldn't quite answer the question, why? So I too stumbled and fell. And I say this openly and unashamedly because I want to say to all of us who stumbled and fell, that as Almighty God, Allah, has had mercy upon me and has, to say it in the scriptural language, an angel of the Lord came and rolled the stone away, which allowed me to come back out of the tomb again. Then I can stand before you who fell, and a nation who has fallen, and a whole people who have fallen, and say, brothers and sisters, this is the final call. This is the final call. I want you to listen and pay very close attention to what we say tonight, because it is the final call. All right, sir. Listen. When a train is getting ready to go, or a plane is getting ready to take off, the man says, board it now. This is the final call for flight so-and-so and so-and-so. And if you are a traveler, you better get on board. So do all your hugging and your squeezing and your teasing and get on board. Well, this is the final call, because the world that Elijah Muhammad warned us was going down. It don't take a wise man to see it's falling apart. And the black man and woman of America are suffering loss and ruin today because we didn't listen when the man was here. But I'm proud and pleased to say that Allah brought me back to life to call out to you for the last time, to be a reminder to you of a holy one that was in our midst, to be a reminder to you of a faithful warner and a faithful messenger, and plead with you and beg you almost to take away to your Lord before it is too late. Why did it happen? What did God have in mind? Allah introduces himself to us in the Holy Quran. In the second surah, he begins, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I, Allah, am the best knower. He introduces himself to us as one who knows best. He's telling us, trust me, it'll work out right. I know best. And some of the most critical chapters in the book, he introduces with those same words, I know best. Mama used to tell us that when she gave us castor oil. I know best, child. Take your castor oil. Take your 3/6s. Take your black draught. I know best, child. This will move you. And sure enough, Mama did know best. It was a painful experience. It was an excruciating experience. But after it was all over, we came out better for it because Mama did know better than we know. Allah is saying to us, it is the nature of water, and it is the nature of electricity, and it is the nature of life to take a course of least resistance. You would not choose heavy trial for yourself. You would choose an easy road if you had to choose roads to travel. But since I, Allah talking, am the best knower, and I want to make you a great people, and I have carved out a future for you and caused the prophets to prophesy of what your future would be, I must take you by a way that you knew not, so that every twist and turn in the road will bring out of you something that you didn't even know was in you, until when I get through with the twists and the turns in the road, with the ups and the downs and the hills and the valleys, I'm going to take you through trial and tribulation, through pain and affliction. But when I get finished with you, you'll be like purified gold, so pure that you'll be a perfect conductor of my Holy Spirit, because I've chosen you for my own service. But I never choose a people and give them an easy road. When I choose somebody, I make it hard for them, because I know best what is good for my choice. You say, I don't believe it. I chose Abraham. I didn't give Abraham an easy road. I chose Moses, and he wanted to quit before he began because he knew the road was rough. I chose Daniel, but I put him in a lion's den. I chose the Hebrew boys, but I threw them in the furnace. I chose Jesus, but I had him crucified. Because when I choose you, I don't choose you for an easy road. I choose you to go a road that you wouldn't go yourself, but I am the best knower. But if you're patient with me, if you persevere through your trial, if you can take the down like you took the up, if you can take the have not like you took the have, if you can take the sorrow like you took the joy, if you can lose whatever you have and then ask me why, but still don't doubt me, and still don't get offended where you curse me, then I'm going to bring you out after I try you. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. told my servant, your latter state will be better than your former state. Have you considered my servant Job? Job was my man. God talking, the best knower. Job was my man. I loved him. But Satan and the children of God came to present themselves before me. My own children didn't know that Satan was among them. They were walking with Satan. I had to call a stop to that because I was the best knower. I said, whence cometh thou, Satan? Satan had to speak. The children of God said, what? Satan is among us? I thought that was brother so-and-so. I thought that was sister so-and-so. But whence cometh thou, Satan? He said, well, I come from walking up and down, going to and fro in the earth, seeking whom I may devour. Devour mean eat up. Eat up mean make a part of my system, that it strengthens and nourishes my aim and my purpose. Satan is always looking for someone to eat up, to make them a part of his crookedness, that the power and essence of your being be used for a cause that is against yourself. Satan had eaten everybody up. He had gobbled up the planet. But the Lord looked at Satan and said, hey, have you considered my servant Job? Satan said, what about him? He said, he loves me. That's right. And he eschews evil. Satan said, oh, shoot, the only reason you love him and he love you is because you give him everything. Remove that hedge from around him and let me get to him. And I'll show you, God. I'll make him curse you to your face. The same challenge is repeated in the Holy Quran under the name Iblis. God chooses a man, and he makes the angels bow to the man that he chose. And Iblis did not. And Allah said to Iblis in the Quran, what hindered you that you did not submit when I commanded you? Now here's a man rebellious to God's command. Then he speaks back to God. He says, I didn't submit because this one is made of dust, or he's made of black mud fashioned into shape. I'm made of fire. I'm better than he is. Don't you know me, God? I'm the wise one. I'm the righteous one. And you took something from dust. You took something from black mud. You took a filthy thing and put him above me. I'm angry with you. That's why I didn't submit, because I'm better. The wicked always think in their sick, self-righteous heart that they are better than the one whom God chooses. So God wants to show you you're not as good as you think you are. And I'll prove it by the trial. I'm going to take the hedge from around you, Job. And since you don't want to submit to my servant, I'm going to give you a respite. I'm going to give you time. I'm going to delay your doom. And I'm going to set you on a course. And the devil said to Allah in the Quran, in words, thank you for respiting me or delaying my doom. But now I'm going to lie in wait for them in thy straight path. I'm not going to come in the crooked path, because everything in the crooked path is already mine. But I'm going after them that's in the straight path. I want to take those who say they believe in you. I want to take those who say they set up no God besides you. Those are the ones I want to make deviate. And Allah says, go to it, man. Not quite like that, of course. And Satan says to Allah, he says, I'm going to come at them from their right side and from their left side, from before them and from behind them. And I will make all of them deviate. Notice the word, I will make all of them deviate. Allah said to Satan, go to it. But whosoever follows you, I will certainly fill hell with you all. In other words, I want you to know, Satan, I got some knees that won't bow to you. I want you to know, Satan, that he's my man, but I'm going to let you try him. He said the only condition I put down is spare his life. Do anything to him you want to, don't take his life. Satan says it's a deal. Let's make a deal. The price is right. Now, brothers and sisters, the history of Job is a beautiful history because Job lost everything. He lost his cattle. He lost the land that he had. He lost his family. He lost his health. Even his wife told him, curse God and die. His friends turned on him and said, look, man, you must have done something wrong. God wouldn't do nothing like this to you. You're the wrongdoer. Fess up, tell it, man. Look, brother, you don't know when you got friends. You don't know who your friends are. You think you got friends when you got money. You think you have friends when you have power. But when your power is gone, and when your money is gone, and when you can't do nothing for nobody or to nobody, that's when you find out who your friends really are. And that's when Job found out. Job looked up and he looked deep into human nature because he had to get a lesson in human nature. He had to understand why his family, he's a righteous man and his family is all messed up. Man, that's something to think about. A righteous man with an unrighteous family. A righteous man whose family loved to party and boogie and get on down. So while his family was boogieing and getting on down, a whirlwind came and swung the house. Killed them all except one. And Job saw one of his children running to him to tell him, all the family is gone. How did Job take it? He got down so low. He used these words, the Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now look, those are words, but they embody a deep principle. That you have no children except by God's grace. And if God give you a child and let you enjoy the loveliness and the beauty and the warmth of that child for 6 months, for a year, and you lose the child, you shouldn't curse God. You should thank God for the year that you have. Do you understand? That's the way to look at it. Sure, we're sad to see the life go, but thank you, Allah, for the life that you gave me. We have to be able to withstand trials in order to grow into perfection. The Quran asks the Muslims, and do men think that they will be left alone on saying we believe and will not be tried while others were tried before you. Nation of Islam, do you think that you can enter the garden while the like of that which befell others has not yet befallen you? And surely they were greatly tried and greatly shaken to such a degree that they cried out, when will the help of Allah come? Could the nation of Islam that had grown from the work of Elijah Muhammad, from the suffering of Elijah Muhammad, from the sacrifice of Elijah Muhammad, and the early strugglers in Islam, they made it possible for the nation to be the nation of Islam. And though many black people didn't subscribe to Mr. Muhammad's religious philosophy, they admired his educational program, his economic program. They loved the unity and the cohesiveness of the brothers, the courtesy that they displayed, the righteousness that we tried to carry into practice. They loved the sisters in their garments, how proudly you walk the streets of New York. And the junkies and the winos step back to show you respect and honor. You remember? But you and I had to be tried. Jesus was going up, up, up. And I mean, I guess to the people that looked at Jesus, they said, man, look at him. He's making the deaf hear, the dumb speak, the lame walk. He's raising the dead to life. Ooh, before long, everybody gonna believe in him. They didn't know what was laying around the corner. Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. People saying, Hosanna, Hosanna. They didn't know that a few days later the people would be saying, crucify him. Crucify him. I was here in New York with you, and God knows I love you, and he also knows that you love me. Yeah, most of you did. I speak in the past tense, but you know, God have a way of warming things up again that turn cold when understanding comes. Look, brothers and sisters, your love is precious. Hear me well. We took the temple in New York. Brothers and sisters in this audience right here tonight, after the assassination of Malcolm X, we could hardly hold our head up in the street. Anywhere we walk, there go one of them Muslims, they kill Malcolm. It was years before Muslims got any kind of respect at all. But we worked hard, brothers and sisters, under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They burned down our temple on 116th Street. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad came back and built it up more beautiful than ever, to say to the hypocrites, you will not run us out of New York. We are here to stay. And in that lovely house on 116th Street, we had good times and bad times. We had ups and downs. Because when you're on a road that leads to paradise, you can't have it one way all the time. God got to give you valleys and hills, low places and high places, ups and downs, to see what kind of servant you're going to be. Brother, in 1974, when 70,000 people came out to Randall's Island, the largest crowd ever gathered in the history of New York for a black event. That's right. All black people. Nation of Islam flag flying all over Randall's Island. So many people, I couldn't get there in my car. They had to go get a helicopter because the bridge, they said, was too crowded for me to come over the bridge. And when I went to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him of this mighty crowd. Repeated again in September, 40,000 out there. And I'm sitting with the messenger. And I'm happy, you know. Oh boy, the apostle, the people love you. They want to hear your teaching. He just looked at me real sad. And he said, as God is my witness, he said, brother, the time is coming when you may go to the temple and you will not find a believer there other than yourself. I looked at him and I know he's the messenger and I know he's telling the truth, but inside I don't quite believe it. I said, how could this be? With all those people, mosques full, Bronx mosque full, Brooklyn mosque full, Manhattan mosque full. We had 18 mosques in the city, all of them full of people. And it looked like we were busting out of all the walls. How could it be that it was going to go all the way down to nothing? How could I go to the house that we built and there would be no believers there? I couldn't see, but he knew tomorrow better than I knew yesterday. And that's why there is no leader for black people but a visionary. And Elijah Muhammad is no blind guide. He saw tomorrow better than you see yesterday. And he carved out a path for us to walk if all we would do is see where he went and put our foot down right after him. I'm telling you, we can rebuild the nation overnight. Overnight. All the guards on the front post, don't change these posts no more. Unless it's an emergency. If a man can't sit down for an hour, we don't need it. That's right. Us old folks, we remember the time when we would stand for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for 6 hours. Yes, sir. And didn't change no post. Old soldiers, you remember those days. Oh, look at these mighty soldiers. Do you know, beloved? I'm looking in your faces. Do you know we are lucky to be alive with what we've been through? Do you know we're lucky to be here? You don't have to show me your scars. I got plenty to show you too. We've been through hell to get here tonight. Yes, sir. Let me go on. So after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that to me, I came home and I told others. But I didn't know how it was going to happen. None of us believed that the son of Elijah Muhammad would take the nation off the course that the messenger put it on. All of us that were in the nation, we loved Wallace. Except some crazy folk who may have been jealous of his wisdom. He's no little lightweight fella. He's a very, very, very wise man. But he had a problem. And his problem was he really didn't love his daddy. And he didn't love Master Farad Muhammad. And deep down inside, he didn't believe that his father was in fact the messenger of God. That's right. So if he didn't believe that, he should have left us alone. That's right. And gone on and established something that testifies to his great belief. Yes, sir. That's right. Since he believed that he's better than his father, since he believed he's more wise than his father, since he believed he's holier than his father, more clean, more fit for leadership of the people than his daddy, then leave your daddy alone and go on out in the field with your wisdom and bring up a house to the glory of Allah that will shame your father. But you didn't do that. No, he came right in the temple. With a uniform on. Yes, he did. Came back just a few months before they announced the death of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I say this with no malice, because God has blessed me to overcome bitterness, because I understand my bitterness.
Come on, brother.
The Quran teaches us that when Moses left to go to the mountain, the Samiri, S-A-M-I-R-I, the Samiri took the leadership from Aaron.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Aaron didn't mislead the people. He was overpowered by the Samiri.
That's right.
That's the Quran. I know what the Bible says. It got truth in it too. But the Quran vindicates Aaron.
Yes, sir. That's right.
But the Samiri, they started and borrowed a few footprints, the Quran teaches.
That's right.
And then after a while, they discarded that. It means they followed the messenger a little way and then discarded that. Exactly what happened.
That's right.
When the new leadership came to power, they followed the messenger a few days.
Yes, sir.
Made it appear like they're right with him. And after a few days, they discarded everything that the messenger taught.
Yes, they did. That's right.
The Jews, on Christmas time, have a holiday that they call Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a Jewish festival. They call it the Festival of Lights, but it's actually the observance of the retaking of the temple at Jerusalem and the purifying of that temple from the unlawful leadership of one called Antiochus the Fourth Epiphanes. Antiochus was not to be the leader, but through deceit, through cunning, through bribery, through flattery, he displaced the actual one and came to power. He was a Jew on the outside, but his heart was Greco-Roman. He loved Greece. He loved Rome. So when he came to power, being a Jew on the outside and a Greek on the inside, his heart was to destroy the Jewish way and reestablish or establish the Greek or Roman way among the Jews. Isn't that something? So the first thing he did was ban all Jewish literature. Go read it for yourself. It's in the library. You can check it out. He banned all Jewish literature. The second thing he did was close down all of the Jewish schools. You didn't hear me. The third thing he did was rob the Jewish treasuries. The fourth thing he did was bring into the temple the abomination that bringeth desolation. Then he brought a hog in and slaughtered a pig on the altar of God. The man had got so way out that the Jews began a spirit of rebellion. He even had a coin minted with his face on it. And he called himself Antiochus Epiphanes. Epiphanes means the manifestation of God. But the people called him Antiochus Epimanes, and Epimanes means a madman. a man by the name of Judas Maccabeus arose. And the famous Maccabees that you read about in Jewish history began to assault Antiochus. They said that Antiochus was a curious mixture of wit and charm and insanity. They said he used to go with sailors and stuff. That's what the book said about Antiochus. That's what the book said about Antiochus. That's history. But now, Daniel talks about it. Daniel says, and when the abomination that bringeth desolation standeth in the holy place. Know that the end is nigh. In a meeting of the national laborers, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that the abomination that bringeth desolation stands for hatred. When someone would stand in the holy place filled with hatred for the God that the holy place remembered, and the Messiah would be cut off. And the scholars say the Messiah's being cut off means he would be without honor, without regard in his own house. When this happened, know that the end is coming. I don't know, it could be coincidence. But it is true that when the new leadership came to power, its first act was to tell all of the Muslims, put away the books of Elijah Muhammad. Put them away. Don't read them no more. Come to me.
That's right.
I didn't say it. He said it.
That's right.
Is that true?
That's true.
The second thing he did was close up every one of the universities of Islam. Did he close them up? Close them all up. By June of 1976, at McCormick, put them away. Don't books of Elijah Muhammad. Put them away. Don't read them no more. Come to me.
That's right.
I didn't say it. He said it.
That's right.
Is that true?
That's true.
The second thing he did was close up every one of the universities of Islam. Did he close them up? Close them all up. By June of 1976, at McCormick Place, it was announced that there was over $4 million in the number 2 port treasury, and that last year over 22 million had come in on the fish alone. And if you remember, Savior's Day 1974, the former National Secretary Abbas Rasul said that our income for the year 73-74 approached $50 million in the Nation of Islam.
That's right. Come on.
Now this is June 1976, 75. By February 1976, it was announced that the Nation of Islam was broke. That the Nation of Islam was $5 million in debt. The picture was painted of mismanagement. The picture was painted of corrupt, rotten leadership that was ripping off the people's fish money, ripping off the people's charity. I don't doubt that there was some that who wanted to fatten themselves up on the suffering and the sacrifice of others. But I ask you a very pertinent question. Since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad bought us the most modern, up-to-date press, cash, with $1 million, He bought us 40,000 acres of land. And we got together and bought him a jet plane at a cost of $1.2 million. Cash. If somebody was ripping him off, he suddenly was able to make progress with the charity that the believers gave. Remember this now.
Come on, boy. That was all, brother.
Now they say the nation was worth over $80 million. There is no corporation in America that does not function with some debt. Debt does not mean you are not soluble, you are not viable, you're not in business. General Motors has debt. Ford Motor Company has debt. Ask Chrysler, they've been in debt. American Motors is in debt. U.S. Steel is in debt. The United States government, according to President Reagan, said they wanted to raise the debt ceiling from $980 billion to a little over $1 trillion. That's the government debt.
Come on.
But if the government is $1 trillion in debt, and the country has a gross national product of 2.5 times the national debt, then we say the country's economy could be viable. If the nation was $5 million in debt and had an income of $50 million in 1 year and assets of over $80 million, how could the nation be in bad shape? There is truth here that some of the businesses weren't doing well. We must tell the truth. And it wasn't doing well because of bad management. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was constantly searching for better managers. Kept an ad in the paper sending for qualified help, because he knew a lot of his help was unqualified. But that don't mean the nation is bad. Certainly there were some corrupt people, but that doesn't mean that everybody is corrupt. There are a lot of Muslims in here who strove hard to live the life of a righteous Muslim. And they resent being told that everybody was corrupt, everybody was a liar, everybody was a thief, everybody was screwing somebody. That's not true. Absalom did the same thing to David.
Yes, sir. Teach on him.
He magnified the evils in David's court to show that he was more qualified for leadership over Israel than his own father, the king, put on the throne by God, David. But Absalom was the loser.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Antiochus became a miserable loser. As he was going up, it looked like nothing that he did failed. But as he's coming down, looked like everything is a mistake.
Yes, sir. Teach us. Come on.
But why? But why?
All right. That question.
Why did the Muslims go through all of this? I say this to the new ones. Don't try and judge the old Muslims. Don't do that. Don't say, I met one of the old followers today. He ain't nothing. Don't do that. Because you don't know what they've been through. And I want to tell you, in defense of the old Muslims, they died that you might have a right to the tree of life. They didn't even know the destiny that was theirs. They followed the messenger, but they didn't know they had to go to the cross. They wanted the crown, but you couldn't get the crown till you hit the cross. And the cross means crucifixion, and we wasn't about to go through that. But Allah said, I'm the best knower. Go on through it. The book said, Jesus said, you don't take my life, I lay it down. He said, if the temple is destroyed, he said, if I destroy it, I'll rebuild it in 3 days. God is the destroyer here. But he needed an agent that would destroy it. And he found one right out of the seed of the messenger. Well, that's heavy. That bears witness to the beginning. Yaqub was an original black man. He was one of our own, but he made the devil. Showing you that in the very nature of the black man, there is that crookedness, that wobble that's there that gives us trouble from time to time. And even though God chooses a messenger out of a family, that don't mean that there's a guarantee for his children. Because out of the same sperm that produced the original, out of that same sperm came the devil. Well, that's heavy. Now, where does the Bible say this? Oh, it's all over the Bible. We could go from Genesis all the way to Revelations, brother, and we don't have time to go there tonight. But it's all there, and I thank Allah that he blessed me to wake up and to be awakened by a brother who came by my grave and said, brother, it's time. Get up. I thank Allah that I'm able now, by his grace, to see a little better than I thought I saw in 1974 and 5. Beloved, look at this parable of Jesus. A man went forth to sow wheat in a field. Listen carefully. But while men slept, an enemy crept in and sowed tares in among the wheat. Isn't that a beautiful parable? The keeper of the vineyard said, hey, we better pluck these up. He said, no, no, no. Let them grow together until the harvest time. And when the harvest is come, we will then separate the wheat from the tare. Then Jesus gives us the meaning of the parable. He said the field is the world. The children of the kingdom are the wheat, and the children of Satan are the tare. And they're going to be together until the harvest time. And then God will separate out of his kingdom. Now, this is not the world, because the parable is a parable of the kingdom of heaven. That there's hypocrites in the kingdom.
Listen, okay.
Now look, some of us don't even know what we are. We come to join something, but we too cowardly to say I ain't with it, and not strong enough to walk the way it teaches.
Okay.
So we hang out in it, but use every opportunity to deviate from it. That's hypocrisy. Yeah, you can hide for a while, but the Quran says Allah sees what you do. And at a time that he sets, he's going to separate the house. Well, the messenger told us in 1957 that the nation was honeycombed with rotten characters, stool pigeons, and all of this kind of brother and sister. The police department sent people in, like they did tonight. Right? Now look, I'm not dumb enough to believe that everybody that's here tonight is with us. I mean, people come for all kind of reasons. We don't care, as long as you're here, it's fine. But Allah is watching. So people joined up in the nation. But they didn't really have the good of the nation at heart. They had their own thing at heart. Allah knows this. So the Quran teaches us in the 29th surah called the spider that Allah want to know the truthful from the liars. So he's going to send a test in there to match truth up in the nation. But they didn't really have the good of the nation at heart. They had their own thing at heart. Allah knows this. So the Quran teaches us in the 29th surah called the spider that Allah want to know the truthful from the liars. So he's going to send a test in there to manifest who is a liar and who is truthful. Now we can wrap it up. Look, beloved. It was at the crucifixion of Jesus that we found out who the liars were and who the truthful were, who the weak were and who the strong were. Isn't that true? Yes, sir. It was at that heavy trial on Job that we begin to find out where his family was, who his friends were, and Job began to get a good look at his own self. Yes, sir. Isn't that something? Yes, sir. It's in trial that you find out what each one of us is made of. You married to a man or the man married to you. You all think you love each other. And you say it every night. I love you, baby. I love you. I mean, it sounds so good in the ear. You know what I mean? Oh, she really loves me. But God may know something more than you know. So a trial comes against the marriage. And then when a test comes inside the house, you begin to find out, uh-oh, maybe they didn't love me like I thought. You got children that will follow you and be kind when you give them everything they want. You don't know that they're really yours. Well, I don't mean to suggest that anything funny went down, but I mean you don't know that they are really good children until you test them. My children, I used to put them to a test. I promised them something. Yes, I would. They here, they can bear witness. And then when it came time to give it up, I would say, oh, I'm sorry. Something came up. And then I'd look in their face, and some of them would just walk out stomping. See? If you only my son, when I got something to give you, okay. Yes, sir. Then when I don't have nothing to give you, will you still be my son? Are you my wife? Are you my wife because I can secure you now? Suppose I lose my job. Right. Come on. Don't you remember all the years that I did work and support you? Are you going to forget me now that I lost my job and start cussing me out? Come on. See how short your memory is. Yes, sir. This is the way God works on you. He want to make you see yourself as you really are. Oh, brother and sister, if you do this for one another, how wise is the God to find out who the sincere followers of his messenger really is?
Ooh-wee. My Lord, that's part one right there, y'all. Plenty notes, man. Plenty notes. Wow. If you have anything that you would like to share today that stands out for you, go ahead and press the number 1 at this time. Man, that's a heavy one there, boy. We gotta go back and listen to that one over and over and over again. So many principles, man, that we can take from that. So many principles. Let's start off with Sister Jamie 2X. Let me make it to where you can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. All praise due to Allah. Assalamu alaikum. Believers, man, this message was so heavy and so right on time that is scary because I went to go watch Civil War yesterday. And if anybody have not seen that movie, not a big movie fan, but I wanted to see this particular one because of where we at right now in time and in prophecy. Um, I remember not too long ago, one of the sisters had said that one of the followers, and it's an alternate set of Islam that came up since the messenger had left from around us, and they told their followers to go into the nation and to basically get into the positions, get into leadership position, so that way when the minister leaves us, then they can basically try to take over the nation with, you know what I'm saying, by slowly but surely implementing their teachings and things of that nature. And it was funny because we was talking about this yesterday after I seen Civil War. It was like, if you got this teaching, if your teaching is more supreme than this teaching, then like the minister said, why don't you go out there and go do what you're gonna do? Why you gotta come up in here, put on a headpiece, put on a bow tie, and you know what I'm saying, hypocrite honeycomb your way around the believers and then try to get us off our course because you got issues, you got madness, you got sickness, you got your, you know what I'm saying, you messed up because you want somebody to hear your word, but the reality of it is you don't want to come in and submit to what God got set up. You want to come in and put your sickness and your weakness off on believers. That bothers me as a believer. That's why the Quran say, you know, and I got to be careful with that word because the Quran tells us, do not call yourself believers, but say you are submitters until you have risen to the point where the trial that you got to go through has showed Allah that you are yet a believer. So that's all I wanted to say. Man, this message, I want to please, if you can put this particular message in the chat so I can go study. I want to study this all day. This is a study with the Civil War Pact. This is something that needs to be studied because reality of it is this is what we got to go through again in our nation. So can you please share that message? Thank you, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Woo-wee. Yeah, I actually heard of that group as well, actually. Recently, within the last year. Interesting, ain't it? One of the first things that stood out for me was the minister says that the wicked always think in their sick, self-righteous hearts that they are better than what God chooses. Now, when we listen to this, remember this sounds like a bliss. You know, hey, God is choosing one for you to submit, and you're saying, well, I'm better. I'm made of this, and they made of this. Right? Minister went on to say, so God wants to prove you're not good as you think you are, and he'll prove it through a trial. So a trial is good. You know, I've been through some situations where trials seem bad when you're in it. But afterwards, you realize, man, I thank Allah for the trial. Because the trial reveals to you who you are, and it reveals to you who they are, and it reveals to them who they are. So ain't nothing wrong with a trial. It's like a boxing match. You ain't mad at the match. You ready for the match because you ready to see who the heavyweight champion is. You ready to see who's who now. So the trial is only going to reveal the truth of it because we don't know unless we go through a trial. The minister say you don't know who you are unless you've been tried. So it's easy to say who you are. It's easy to say what you would do when you ain't been through it. So a trial is good so God can manifest what's in the heart and show and prove. So this is a reminder, man. Look, when God chooses, man, you shut your mouth, man. You submit because you don't know why he chose who he chose. And then I'm going to take it a step further. When Allah chooses you, you shut your mouth too. internally, trying to justify why you're not good enough for the position. You trying to rationalize why you can't take on such a mission when he is choosing you. So just as it is bad that one who has not been chosen don't want to follow this one because he feels like he made a fire and you made a dust, or he's made a dust, he's not submitting to God's will. But when you are chosen for something and you choose not to carry it out, you too not following God's will. So what's the difference? Both not following his will. So sometimes we wonder why God, man, why did God choose me? Oh, I'm not worthy enough. Well, you may think you should be chosen based on a following. You may think you should be chosen based on how well you can speak. God is saying, no, I'm not judging based on that. So that's one of the first things that stood out for me. Let's go to Brother Armando.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother and family.
Salam.
So what stood out to me was at the end, a couple of years, I think I joined the nation in 2021. And right after that, it started to seem like, you can say you're a believer, but then, then these trials started coming into your life. And in 2022, I lost my mom. And that was like one of the most challenging times in my life right there. Because that's one of those things that even when you're a child, you say, man, if I lose my mama, boy, I'm gonna go crazy. But I just thank Allah that when it happened to me, I was covered, like I was in these teachings, and I used to always hear the minister speak about being grateful, just like that, just like this one that we just watched. He was saying like, watch your attitude when he put you through these trials. And when I was at my mom's wake, I had a relative that come up to me, and she was like, "It's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve. You need to let it out. You need to let it out." But I was already okay with it in my mind because I had been listening to the minister teach me how to handle these trials. And in my mind, I was like, "Well, I just think a lot that I was given the opportunity to get 36 years with a wonderful mom." And that was my mindset. So I didn't have to grieve like everybody else was grieving, but they couldn't understand why I wasn't grieving like that. But it wasn't just me that went through whatever I went through. I think about a month ago, I lost my brother. So it's always some type of trial and I'm not trying to scare nobody who's not in the nation, but when you say when you join on to this thing and he started putting you through, he gonna test you and see. I think I've been been having my fair share of trials myself, but I think the most important thing is how you take it, how your perception of it. And I think I was reading the study guide this morning, getting prepared for the Friday night study group, and it was hitting on some of those things too. So I just encourage everybody to just stay in it, and it get better on the other side because I'm at a better place. I'm at peace, and I'm able to handle other things that come my way. So, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for sharing that. Brother Daniel 6X.
All praise is due to Allah. I'm glad to revisit this message, and I'm definitely going to listen to it throughout the day. I first noted the 5 things that Antiochus did when he took the reins of leadership. First thing he did was destroy the Jewish literature. Since we put the lessons in past, present, and future perfect tense, we can't allow the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to be destroyed within us. We have to continue to be purveyors of wisdom, knowledge, and studiers. The next thing he did was close the schools. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that you can go under a tree and start a school. So we must have our houses as places of worship. And wherever we are, we must be students of the wisdom and study. The third thing he did was rob the treasury. People get real funny when you're messing with their money. We talked about this yesterday. We have to use our money responsibly to push the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and try our best to be expounders, practitioners of that which we believe the ideas of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, be willing to make that sacrifice. Then he put a hog in the temple. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that represents being a lover of filth. So we have to keep filth out of our personal temple, out of our homes, and not partake in that. And the last thing is the abomination of desolation spoken about in the book of Daniel, or where the Messiah is cut off and hatred stands where love used to be. We certainly got to make sure that we embrace the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, take on the mission, and not do that which has caused us to be self-hating and then haters of the people of God. So those were some of the points that stood out to me there. And last but not least, I had to look up the Maccabees. These were people who were considered Jewish rebels. They were warriors, but they did reassert the Jewish religion, and they expounded the boundaries of Judea by conquest, and they reduced the influence of Hellenism or Hellenistic Judaism, which means it's people who are non-Jew, who are Jewish, but they adopt Greek ways or Roman ways or the ways of the enemy. So we certainly don't want to be involved in adopting the ways of America, calling ourselves Muslims. We must come out of her and be not partakers in her sins and her plagues. And last but not least, he spoke about how in the original man is that wobble that the original black man brought out. He spoke about how out of the same sperm that produced the original, out of that same sperm came the devil. And he said that some of us don't know what we are. And he said he's not dumb enough tonight to believe that everybody in here is with us. He said this is the way that God worked on you. He wants to work on you to see who you really are. And we are told that the Supreme Being knows who we are, but it is the Allah and ourselves that have to learn who we are. So as our brother Ben said, we got to be tried to manifest what's in us to determine if we are of God with the two Messiahs or we are of the enemy of God. Thank you.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Remus.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, sir. Brother Ben, thank Allah again for you, beloved, for submitting, not rebelling, and letting him tell you, guide you to put this power call together. So briefly, so we can get to the next person. Not rebelling. I thought about sister, and everybody's input is so valuable as always, but it just conjures up so many thoughts when you were talking, Brother Ben, about accepting the call. I remember coming into the nation 29 years ago, and all the way to Savior's Day, it just came and went. All the trials and the reasons of not going, and just what you go through just to keep on submitting. I'm so grateful for these teachings because being around the brothers, I remember Brother Minister Charles, who used to be the minister, and he moved to Phoenix, 32, miles 32, but he said stick in FOI class. His whole message was just stick. And, just to stick and to continue, that's when you're going to get shaped and molded, I can tell you personally. Man, just sticking, coming in, oh, man, it's a polishing agent when you come into these teachings. You talk about your prayer, my sacrifice, my life and my death is all for Allah. Oh, man, you find a worthy cause to attach to. I'm holding on. So whatever's going to happen, Allah, you watch the minister and I love it when you said, Brother Ben, about questioning leadership. Just not a good look today. And our people we got a leader within, but when you hear that word and that truth, and you know this is the truth, and you know what you're hearing, Allah's moving you and you don't move on it, woo, that self-accusing spirit, man. And just submit. Don't have to believe yet. Just submit. That's submitting, because Iblis wouldn't. You see, and this rebellious devil, the recessive gene in all of the original people on this earth, that's got to get worked out. So Allah said, I'm gonna put a ruler in the earth. What you gonna put in there except that which is gonna cause a miss? He said, I know what you don't know. I can raise one up, have that one do some things. I'm running him. He got a covenant with me for a certain period of time. But I need you to submit. And then at the right time, Allah gonna deal with what he created. That ain't our place. And we're gonna get instructions if we can just fall in. And it seems to be the hardest thing for our people to do. They got their own rationalization. But they say hard head make a soft behind. And a lot of our people just have to learn the hard way. And the Quran reminds us that some are going to believe. It's not your job, Remus, Brother Ben, whoever. It's not your job to convert them. You just bring the message. You just deliver the message. Because if you don't deliver the message, well, you didn't deliver the message, but you didn't make the message. You just got to deliver it. And that's why I appreciate what you're doing, because that is what I took away from it. Follow the leader that's in us. We all have an assignment. We have reasons why we were told, when you see the black man and woman, you're looking at God. That's new. I didn't get that in Christianity. And nobody ever told me in the Catholic Church, when you look at the black man and woman, you're looking at God. Complete opposite was what I grew up with. So that getting these new words in, Brother Nuri talked yesterday, and just all these thoughts compound on each other. And it's just so refreshing to hear these words and to minister and seeing how to process them and put it all together in this time we live in. We're so blessed, so grateful and thankful for these teachings, because it gives us, like Brother said, a way to understand and accept things. I'll just share this last little piece. My parents got divorced when I was 10. My aunties and uncles and my mom got 10 brothers and sisters. Oh, it's going to be all right. You okay? You okay? I'm like, I'm glad they separated. That was hell when I was like, I'm cool. Yeah, you tripping. I'm good. Thank you. The light of understanding about good. I like that they not at each other's neck. And so we can keep moving forward. And so in certain ways, I think the people coming up, but it's just counseling and there's understanding and grief and losing loved ones, all of that we all have to get accustomed to, because nobody gonna be here forever. It's just a part of this journey. If you're born, there's gonna be a date when we're not here anymore. When you're not here, I'm not here. So that's a part of this thing. But the idea of what's moving us while we're here, what we do matters. And so how we deal with it and just submitting, is a big thing in this hour, because Allah's will is going to be done. It is being done. And we just pray for the light of understanding. So I'm so grateful and thankful. And, I'll pass the mic on that. Appreciate you. Now,
And
if you
you
just
talking?
want, I was going to say, if you want me to continue, I can go.
Oh no, I actually was on mute on accident. Sister Yolanda.
Dear believers, and all those that are in this Power Call community this morning. This lecture brings to me self-improvement, the basis for community development. One of the points I would like to speak on is when the minister mentioned how out of that same sperm came devil. I'm paraphrasing, I may not using the proper words. I just think about myself. The two nations that's up inside of me. Which one am I going to submit to? One of them may rise, but let the righteousness in Sister Yolanda prevail, regardless of what it looked like. I'm in these teachers. I'm not here for nothing. I'm not here to just be delivering lip service and to look good and whatever else go along with it. I want to clean myself up before I could get into all these other areas. I have to clean myself up. Because in everything, you build relationships. And if I don't know how to deal with myself, how can I build in the community? How can I build at my mosque? How can I carry out the teachings without first recognizing that jinn in me? The jinn in me. So you learn to get yourself together, regardless of what your natural eye sees and what your ears hear. Settle on the best part. What is that trying to birth out of you? What is Allah? Why did he present you this situation? It wasn't by what we say, I forgot what the term is, I stopped using it. Oh, well, whatever. It's not by coincidence. The other thing was when the mention minister about Job and the children. My. Woo! These two nations that I have up in my house, maybe it's 4 of them because it's 2 in each. Okay, let's go. Wow. There's a time and a season for everything. And my children don't belong to me. I was just a vehicle to get them here. Nevertheless, whatever the struggle is, whatever their trials are, it just seems like they keep clashing. So I'm going to go study Job because I refuse to allow chaos to interrupt my peace. I have built my sanctuary. When I come home, it's a place of peace. It's a place of refuge. And I will not allow my peace to be dismantled, interrupted. It may try, but I'm going to still settle in my peace. So that which I see sometimes in my children is that sometimes what I gave my parents, and is that it may not look like it to me, and it may be magnified, but my. I'm thankful for the reflection, so I can continue to strive to build and submit my will to do the will of Allah. Because it's not my will be done, it's thine will be done. Thank you for allowing me to share. Have a magnificent weekend. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Second thing that stood out for me, the minister said, Noah, his mindset was the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. He says, you have no children except by God's grace. If God gives you a child and allows you to enjoy the child, and then you lose the child, don't curse God. Thank God for the year that you had. That's the way to look at it. He said, sure, we're sad to see the life go, but thank you for the life that you gave me. We have to be able to withstand trial in order to grow into perfection. My. That's the way to look at it. So that just reminds me to remind us to be in a state of gratitude. No matter how long we have something, how short we have something. The right mindset to look at this is not, oh, I can't believe it's gone. There's no, thank you for the time that you allowed them to be here. Thank you for the time that you allowed it to be here. Because I could have not had it at all. Honestly. And I believe when we are in a state of gratitude, we can notice many things around us versus not being in gratitude, and we don't notice all of the opportunities and blessings that God literally has given us daily and around us all the years of our life. So for me, in certain things I've been a part of, this hit me because it's sad to see some things go, especially when you know the impact of it, especially when you see it. And so this was a reminder to say, no, don't curse God. Not that I was, but don't say be so sad about it. Say, oh, I thank you for that year. I thank you for that short period of time. I thank you for exposing me for what's possible. I thank you for exposing me to see, just give me a glimpse of it. Man, I'm grateful for that. So don't allow, as I close, don't allow the sadness to override the gratefulness. Don't allow the hard times to override in your mind and heart and spirit the good times. Right? So yeah, man, be grateful for what God has given us, man. Shoot, to have life is really enough sometimes, especially when you see people being killed. Especially when you are reminded of the evil accident of time. Man, we grateful to even wake up this morning. How little of gratitude do we have just for waking up? How little gratitude do we have just for being able to walk, breathe, hear, or see? There's people who can't see. There's people who can't participate in the power call. There's people that can't go to the mosque per se. But then we choose not to do certain things that we're well capable of doing. Just a reminder, man. Just a reminder. Then he said we have to be able to withstand trial in order to grow into perfection. So when Jesus in the Bible says, oh, be ye perfect, we can't be perfect and get there without a trial. We said, accept your own and be yourself. Okay, well, yeah. Highest potential, become a God. He want to make each and every one of us into a God, right? Well, this is clearly saying we ain't going to be able to get there without withstanding the trial. So the very thing that some of us may duck, some of us may not want to go through, that is the key to get where you want to go. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So we might well make up in our mind today, I'm done ducking my trial. I'm done ducking the difficulty that's in my life, because if I want the ease that I'm looking for, if I want the reward that I'm looking for, that's on the other side of pain. That's on the other side of being comfortable. That's where that's at. That's how I grow into perfection, through the trial and difficulty that I may be ducking. All right, let's go to the next person. Brother Bryce.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Call family. All praise due to Allah. Thank you, Brother Ben. We thank Allah for you. We thank Allah for those who are on the line. Try to be brief. I mean, just to unpack so much that has been said from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I pray Allah, inshallah, it carries over into Monday. I took a lot of notes down. What stood out to me initially is particularly what happened and why. So the why, it stands out to me. And the Supreme Wisdom, our book of lessons, after we get through the actual facts, it goes right into Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1. And you see a series of whys being asked in the questions, exactly 10 whys. So Allah is teaching us, reasoning, logic and reasoning, train up in the way of logic and reasoning, because we're going to be tested in the whys. And in study guide number 18, Rising Above Emotion into the Thinking of God, on page 157, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan writes, through questioning Allah God in the right spirit, we may be saved. In the story of Cain, there is failure. In the story of Job, there is success. Job is in the midst of extreme duress, still did not curse his God. Rather, he questioned him. In questioning Allah God, we are able to rise above the emotional reaction to our stress to think as He thinks. Allah is not obligated to present trials one at a time, nor is He required to allow some minimal time lapse between them so that we can recover. He may confront us with many trials together or one particular long, grievous, and painful trial. At the peak of the trial, He may create circumstances that will cause us to be, or at least feel completely deserted or abandoned. In the experience of abandonment by friends, family, even fellow believers, there is a sense of hopelessness, nothing to be thankful for. The emotion usually associated with this condition is depression. And he gives some scriptural points that if those of us that are on the line have the study guide, again on page 157, I encourage everyone to read that particular passage and that particular page. You know, I just wanted to share also, Brother Ben, you mentioned the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Today is Friday the 19th, 2024. Back in 2011, my 19-year-old son had Allah called him back home through gun violence. And at that particular time, Brother Minister the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had called me and my entire family to come to see him. And this was during the same time that Brother Akbar Muhammad, his daughter, had transitioned. And we were in New York doing a memorial for Brother Akbar, and the minister gave the eulogy. And after that, he called me and my family into the room, and he shared words with my family. And one thing that stood out with me that he shared with me and my family, he said, my son's death is making you all strong right now, you know, and I hung on to those very words to this very day, you know, and I remind my children of those words that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan shared with us. And 4 years ago, during the pandemic, there was a Hurricane Ida in New Jersey that swept through the town where I was living at that time. And the flood was so horrific, 16 families in my community lost their lives. And our whole apartment complex was devastated and flooded out, vehicles, the whole nine, and we were displaced. And we are still in the area that me and my wife and my daughter, we're still in the area where we were displaced from. And, you know, it's you know, a trial, but yet and still, you know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at that time was asking us to shelter in place, go indoors, lock your doors, and to study and to, you know, to worship Allah indoors, you know. So through trials and circumstances, you know, if we have the right spirit, you know, we lost everything. We lost our clothes, our books, everything. We couldn't go back to nothing and retrieve anything. We lost our vehicles and we had to start back all over again. And we haven't amounted anything of the things that we lost, but we're thankful to Allah that we have a roof over our head, we have food in our stomachs and clothes on our back, and we have each other. More importantly, we escaped with our lives, you know. So it's, again, the why stood out for me. And, you know, the minister mentioned if the why doesn't come quick enough, we can become bitter. So, you know, as Allah says in the Quran, seek assistance through patience and prayer. This is hard, except for the humble ones who know that they will meet their Lord. And that's another study guide the characteristic of humility that, we should train up in this hour. So I thank Allah for the power call. Thank Allah for you, Brother Ben. And that's all I have at this time. May Allah continue to bless us all. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Up next, we got Sister Farah.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a lot, so I'm gonna try to shorten it as much as possible. But what stood out to me the most was when Brother Ben spoke on believers who say they believe, but then don't believe they are worthy of a purpose Allah has chosen us for. That's hypocrisy. And how can you believe that Allah is, how can you believe that Allah is the all-knower? How can you believe that we are all God's children of the Most High God? How can you believe, I'm sorry about that submitting to Allah will set yourself up in heaven at once if Allah reveals to you your purpose, or he puts a trial before you that will set you up and shape you into his divine purpose for you. And you say, I don't know about this, Allah. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I have what it takes. As if Allah, the creator who shaped you in the womb, doesn't know what you're made of. And he doesn't put on any of us more than we can handle. He's testing us every day. And do we think that we'll be left alone on saying we believe and not be tried? Look at the minister and all the trials he faced, all of the sacrifices he had to make to prove he was worthy, not just to Allah, but to himself and to us. And look at what the prophets had to go through to prove that they were chosen by God. You are not a Muslim until you want for your brother what you want for yourself. And you can't be a Muslim if you don't want nothing for yourself. You can't be a Muslim until you believe you and others are worthy of your gift. And even if you don't believe you are worthy yet, submit. Allah chose you for this gift. He put it on your heart to share it. Share it, use it, and share it. So that was really speaking to me. Really, I needed to hear that, and Allah is speaking to me today. And who am I to doubt God and think I'm not worthy for a position He placed in? That's a lack of. And so, yeah, I got some work to do. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. All right, our last two were the King Cam. Brother King Cam. Okay, he must have stepped away. Sister Randisha.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. So, a few things stood out to me as the minister was speaking, and it brought me to, a grateful nation of Islam remembers Brother Joshua Farrakhan in the celebration of life. If I could just share a few things. In that moment, I seen the minister, in his as Job, because he said when the two when and this is in the final call, he says student minister Ishmael noted that the two doctors who tended to Brother Joshua were Muslims, and when they told the minister the heartbreaking news of their son's passing, Minister Farrakhan thanked the doctors and recited the Holy Quran, chapter 3, verse 145. No soul may die except by the permission of Allah. And chapter 2, verse 156, speaking of a believer who, when a misfortune befalls them, surely we are Allah's, and to him we shall return. The doctor then immediately began reciting Al Fatiha, oft repeated Muslim prayer, and opening chapter of the Holy Quran, as other joins in, knowing that death is the irrevocable will of Allah. Student Minister Ishmael related that Minister Farrakhan told him that he and mother handled the news with the dignity of one who believes in Allah and were at peace. He said nothing really prepares us for death but faith and belief in Allah, gives us the spirit to handle a loss of a loved one, he said. Each of us are on this earth on borrowed time. What are we doing with our time? Um, a few other things stood out to me as many of the believers were talking. And I always reference this when the minister was talking about um, many of us have an assignment, right? And the minister always states that we can turn hypocrite overnight. So we have to be careful how we judge each other. You know, people talk about Malcolm and people talk about War of Dane, but as Sister Yolanda stated, what are the two nations that we have inside of us, or the jinn, or those spirits the minister says? So I was thinking about Belly when Reverend, and it's funny that his name is Reverend Savior, right? But he said, I knew you were coming, so I sent everyone away because I believe my final moment was at hand. Before you pull that trigger and take my life, I would like the chance to tell you something, perhaps to think about after I am gone. Don't worry about me stalling. My people have orders to leave me to my studies for another 15 minutes. I think about when the minister delivered the unraveling of a great nation, I believe 2023 at Savior's Day. And quote me if I'm wrong, but he said to the person that will betray him, he said, listen, I know who you are, but I forgive you. That takes a lot to know that somebody will betray you and to say that you forgive them. I haven't spoken to people, and this is just me being honest. I haven't spoken to people in 5 years for something that they did wrong that I thought that they shouldn't do. So for me, that was a reconcilable moment. That means that, you know, I need to be able to forgive. And then the last thing before I pass it over to Brother King Cam, everything has its time in Ecclesiastics 3. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain, a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to throw away, a time to tear, a time to sow, a time to keep silence. That's important for us. Sometimes we talk too much. And a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. And the last thing I'll leave is with Brother Mustafa when he was talking about the minister as they were on a panel with Brother um, Ishmael, and they were talking about, just certain things and the fall of the nation and the nation rising to never fall again. And he stated that a time will come where people will see, the minister has some crazy followers, and this is just quoting Brother Mustafa, and we are waiting for the day when we deal with the hypocrites, but we have to make sure that we are clean within so that we are not hypocritical ourselves to be judged. So that is all I had, and assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Part 2 for Brother Cam. Okay. Maybe Brother Cam is no longer with us. Okay, let's go to my other notes that said let's see. At the time he said he's gonna show. Okay, right here. So the minister says, at a time that he set, he's going to separate the house. Some are too cowardly to say that you're not with it. They didn't have the good of the nation in heart. They had their own thing in heart. Then it says, the Quran, the spider, Allah, I think he said, right? The spider, Allah want to know the truth, the truthful from the liar. So he sends a test in there to know the liar from the truthful. There go that trial again. Trials is good if you on the right side. That's what I get from that. But when I read this and it says they didn't have the good of the nation in their heart, They had their own thing. So Quran, Allah wanted to know the truth from the liar, so he sends a test in there to know the liar from the truth. And this, what comes to my mind naturally is, well, man, I don't shoot if Allah wanted to know. So I don't know who's truthful. So I wait on the trial to come. That's all. I wait on the trial to come, and the trial will let you know who's who. So don't avoid the trial, and don't pray that the trial doesn't come. Shoot, as I've been reading this, you damn near I want to pray for a trial to come just to see who's who, so I can go and get it on up out the way. So I'm not staying here too long with somebody whose heart ain't really in it. So you really want to be thankful for the trial. And really, you want Allah to send the test so that you too can know who's truthful and who's the liar, and to see if we ourselves are truthful or liars. He says it was at the crucifixion that they found out the truthful and the liars. Heavy trial on Job, where you find out where the real friends are. So once he had the heavy trial, that's where he found out who the real friends and the family is. Because in the beginning, when everything is good, it's hard to tell. This is when he begins to go into the wheat and the tare. See, it's hard to tell in the beginning when everything is going good. But when things go bad, when things begin to go as you didn't plan, how are they acting then? How are they responding then? Takes me to the minister when he said, oh, when you got money. What'd he say? He says, when you got the money, oh yeah, you got your friends, you got your family. But when you don't have it, will you still be the same? When you don't have it, will they be there for you? Minister said, are you my wife because I can secure you now? Suppose I lose my job. Don't you remember all the years that I worked and supported you? Are you going to forget all those years? He said he want to make you see yourself as you really are. That's heavy, man. He want to make us see ourselves as we really are. So there's, as I close this, the minister in one of the lectures, he says, your own disappointments are going to talk to you during this time. So let's keep our faith. Let's keep our faith. Let's be mindful. Let's be conscious of our faith. The minister talked about the unraveling. See? Because when you unravel, you pull that one shoestring out, man, it starts something. That whole thing begin to unravel. So we got to think about, man, let's close the ranks on ourselves. Let's not let Satan in any area, because that one area can begin to unravel us. Now we've been totally unraveled. Now we like, well, let me take a little hit of that weed one time. Uh-oh, you're unraveling. You done took your little hit now. He got you. Now you saying, well, shoot, let me go I ain't gonna go to the club every week like I used to, but let me go in. See, now we piece by piece unraveling. Because one part of our faith has been hit and it's shaken up. And now that faith is hit and shaken up, I'm changing my mindset, which means I'm going to be a little lenient in some other areas. Then we find ourselves years later, we have unraveled more than what we thought we was, but it was increments of time over time. Then we begin to justify, well, I'm still I still believe though, you know what I mean? I'm still with it, you know what I'm talking about? I ain't been doing nothing, but I'm still, see, that's where that come in at now. Then we began to use, he said the best followers is in the streets. There we go, now we justifying it. He said devil is deceptive intelligence, rationalizing disobedience. Then we get to, if it's just them brothers and sisters in the mob, or if it wasn't, they just, I don't know, I can't live in no environment like that. Here we go. Now we putting the blame on others. It's everybody else's fault. See, unraveling. And then over time, boy, we begin to look like we did when we was in the world, and then that becomes very stressful because our actions is of that how we used to be, but the knowledge is different. So now we know better, but we not doing better. And so now the stress is laying on our mind, and now the weight is laying on our shoulders because now we do know. Before we didn't know, but now we do know. So every time we do something that's in opposition of it, now we got that voice in our mind that says, all right, now, boy, you know you shouldn't be doing this here. All right, now, sister, you know you shouldn't be doing this right here. So now the lack of duty is putting that stress on our mind, and we can't operate properly. Woo! Deep, ain't it, man? Godly. The Unraveling. That's what we need to watch. We're going to watch that next week. The Unraveling. What year did the minister teach on that? The Unraveling. Yeah, we're gonna have to find that. Let's end off with Brother
That was
King Cam.
2020.
Oh, there go Brother Cam. He done woke up. Okay, brother, fell asleep just a little bit. Okay, what? Rise back up.
Rise up, rise up. One of the things that stood out to me, as I kind of echo what everybody mentioned about the trials and purification and adversity, and student minister Nuri in A Well-Made Man wrote about theology of adversity. And, he gives us guidance from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he says, you were made to conquer whatever life presents. You did it as sperm. Why do you think you can't do it now? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Do men think that they will be left alone on saying we believe and will not be tried? And indeed, we tried those before them. So Allah will certainly know those who are true, and he will know the liars. And that's Holy Quran 29, verses 3 and 4. Of course, Allah doesn't need trials to know. This is Minister Nuri speaking. Of course, Allah doesn't need trials to know who is true and who are the liars. He can read hearts. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that it's the God within that needs confirmation of who we are. So trial become the blessed opportunities to prove to self that we are who we say we are. The Holy Quran teaches that trials purify. Here's a conversation that the devil is having with Allah in the Holy Quran, chapter 15, verses 39 and 40. He, Satan, said, my Lord, as thou hast judged me, Aaron, I shall certainly make evil fair seeming to them on earth. And I shall cause them all to deviate, except thy servants from among them, the purified ones, except the purified ones. Well, the trials purify, and Satan will get all except the purified ones. Then trials purify us in a way that gives us spiritual immunity from Satan himself. So our spirit, when adversity shows up, shouldn't be why me, it should be try me. I'm gonna say that one again. So the spirit, our spirit, when adversity shows up, shouldn't be why me, it should be try me. Try me so I know that I am what I say I am. Try me so I can know how strong I am. Try me so I can gain spiritual immunity from the devils. So when we study the trials and the adversity that that come into our lives, as many of you all have already echoed, that we should strive to change our mentality to a mentality of thankfulness and gratefulness that Allah has taken us through this trial, because the trial is meant to purify. And as the minister mentioned earlier, that he's going to take you on a path and on a road that is going to bring out things in you that you didn't know was there. It's going to bring out things that Allah knows is there and that he's trying to bring out in you, because he's shaping and he's molding you into a testimony and a bearer of witness of his power, wisdom, mercy, and understanding. But we have to be willing to take on the trial, and we're willing to take on the mind of God so that we're able to understand. Because as Brother Remus mentioned earlier and others mentioned earlier, the evil accident of time. We all going to have to deal with it someday, because as for sure as you was born that you got a date that you checking on up out of here. And all of our loved ones do as well. But it's not about what is happening to us. It's about what's happening for us. So the minister highlighted the trial that the Nation of Islam had to go through and had to undergo during the departure of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that brought out so many different things. It brought out the hypocrites. The sister was talking about how the agents come in just for the express purposes of becoming up in leadership, so that they can establish their ideas with the thought in mind to overthrow what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has grown and has rebuilt of the teachers of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And all of these things are happening, so the history is cyclical. And this is why it's important that we study the history. And this is why we are taught that history is best qualified to reward its research. Why? Because this is how you're able to understand the present day and also able to know what's happening in the future, so that you can now change the course of history. You're able to beat prophecy, but you got to study the history first in order to be able to do so. So we listened in real time as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was able to go back into the history and then dissect what took place during the fall of the Nation of Islam at the departure of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And now in the new dispensation of time, you're able to look back at that time and you're able to look at the trials that the believers underwent and how some of them failed, some of them was not able to rise to the occasion. But the minister has given us the study guides, has given us the mind of Almighty God and the divine revelation and wisdom, so that we are able to overcome those struggles and those trials, so that we can come out on the other side as the purified ones, family. So I say, as we close the power call today, let us study the mindset of the minister. Let us study the attitude and the attributes of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the conjunction of the histories in the Holy Quran, and the attitudes that some of the characters that take place, or the characters that play their roles in the scriptures in the Holy Quran and in the Bible, so that we can work to beat prophecy. We can work to beat the hypocrites. We can work to beat the enemy, because we have supreme wisdom. So I thank you for sharing, and I leave you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Praise be to Allah. Well, we're going to go ahead and close this thing out, and we will see you guys, inshallah, on Monday morning, 6 a.m. Central Time. And listen, family, please go to the app, www.thepowercall.net, because I'm wondering how many people is going to be on this morning if you didn't get that text. Okay, so please don't depend on the text. What if the text messages go out? So www.thepowercall.net, you will see the link in the mornings under calendar. Make your profile, www.thepowercall.net. That's where you find the link. I got on this morning. We had about 2 minutes left. We had one sister. I said, hold on now. Is the link not posted? So I went in there. The link was posted. I said, let me go and send the text out. Okay, so please don't depend on the text. Always go to the what's the name, okay? And yes, we do got important information coming soon. So please be on the lookout inside of the app. You gonna miss it if you're not inside the app, by the way. So y'all can tune in on YouTube and stuff, but you will miss the upcoming news that we have coming up that I don't think y'all want to miss if you're not inside the app. Okay? So make sure you're inside of the app, www.thepowercall.net. Don't just come to the Zoom calls. Go to the www.thepowercall.net, because we got something that we're going to be sharing soon. Okay? Assalamu alaikum, and have a black-tastic day.
Is Brother Ben here? Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister. And Ben tells them about the minister.